Asinine Radio. This is the weekly music podcast where every week we get into a different band, different album, and we break it down. We get into the music, lyrics, how it was made, and everything in between. My name is Tyler, and way out there, hundreds of miles away, is Jeff. While you're listening, go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that subscribe button, share all the posts, tell all your friends. And that's it. That's all for the boring intro. We are wrapping up punk season right now on this episode. And what are we doing today, Jeff? Go.
We're doing Death for the whole world to see.
For the whole world to see. Yes, we are. We are doing Death.
To see.
So punk season is coming to an end right now. Going to get into another good season coming up. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, punk season, we're good here. And Death. This is not the Death that most people know, the metal band, the really kind of thrashy metal band Death. We are not doing them. We are doing the punk band from Detroit from the mid 70s. A trio, 3 brothers, 3 African American guys who formed this punk band and then fell into absolute obscurity until 2008, I believe it was, when their music was rediscovered. And that's what we're doing today. The album that they released in 2009 for the whole world to see. So before we get deeper into their history and all that kind of stuff, let's get into our... You having fun over there?
I was just falling asleep because it's so
right.
boring.
Let's get into our origin story with this band, and then first impressions. What do you got? Go.
I don't really have an origin story at all. I don't think I ever heard of this band until you told me about this band. It's fairly recently, in the past 5 or so years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, really, nobody's ever heard of this band ever until 2009 at the earliest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless you're a true head, but I have no connection to this whatsoever, to be honest. That's it.
All right.
That's all I got.
Same here. I've only known about this band for a couple years. I think it was about 2 years ago. I was going through TikTok, and there's this one channel, which I cannot remember the name of the channel, but he does a cool little storytelling thing, like a 5-minute video on TikTok going over whatever band it is, but he kind of sets it up in a mysterious way. Like, who is he talking about? What band he's talking about? He's talking about Weezer, The Killers. Who is he talking about? And then halfway through, he reveals the name and then goes over the history of the band. And it was this band Death in this particular video. Never heard of this band. And he played a clip of their song in the TikTok video. And I was like, how the fuck have I never heard this? So I immediately looked them up. And yeah, this record that was put out in 2009, just incredible. All these songs were written and recorded in 1974. It's 1974, 1975. And, but then, yeah, like I said, not released until 2009. So, yeah, that's my origin story. It's TikTok. Believe it or not. TikTok is my origin story.
Good old TikToks, baby.
Yeah. And consider what's weird too is, you and I are pretty, we know quite a bit about punk. We've been in the punk scene for a while, and neither of us have ever heard of this band. Or if we have, we've just kind of written it off.
This band is so fucking obscure. And the only people who actually cared about this band, even after the documentary dropped, are vinyl collectors, because vinyl collectors, and I've come to realize this above anything else, vinyl collectors don't like to reveal sources. I got a good deal on something. Where'd you buy it? Oh, I can't tell you that. How much you pay for it? Oh, I can't tell you that. Vinyl collectors are fucking weird. They don't do that stuff. Yeah, the worst fucking gatekeepers of all time. And they don't like to reveal this kind of stuff. And vinyl collectors wouldn't want to tell other people about this band Death in the hopes that they could find this 45 for themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though the chances of finding an original Death 45 are astronomical.
Yeah, true.
Beyond astronomical. The lottery winning kind of numbers there. But they're fucking in their head, dude. They're hoarders and they're gatekeepers and they're stupid sometimes. They're stupid sometimes. It makes sense how we never heard of this band, because the people involved in keeping it a secret are the worst of all people.
But also, when everything started to kind of blow up for this band in 2008 and 2009, a lot of bands that we like the White Stripes and things like that, or Jack White, I should say, they were advocates for this band. And Jack White, eventually, a few years after that, they put out a brand new record of new material under Third Man Records. And yeah, we just kind of never cared. And the reason I think that I never did was because of the name. I always kind of probably associated it with the metal band, because I've always known about that band, the metal band Death. So I just thought it was the same band and just didn't think twice about it until that TikTok video. and then you read more about it, and it's just like it's crazy. It's fucking crazy. This band started in 1971. Like I said, three brothers from Detroit, African American guys. They first started as a like a funk group called, what was it, Fire Funk Express or something like that.
Yeah.
It was fuck. I just had it here. What was it? Was it? Damn. Oh, Rockfire Funk Express. That was the name of the band. And then like in 1973, they changed the band name to Death, and then they put out, or they recorded several songs that never came out. They never came out because we'll talk about why they didn't come out later. But yeah, just this to me is the original punk band. You could argue that MC5 and the Stooges are, but this is really what punk was. You know, what we know as punk, what like in 1977 or 1976 with Ramones, Sex Pistols, and Clash and bands like that. This predates it by 3-4 years, and honestly does it way better than a lot of those bands. Like the 7 songs on this record are incredible. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
there's some like
they're pretty goddamn
they're
good.
fucking good. There's like some proggy shit on here too. Like there's 2 songs that are like almost 6 minutes long, but there's still like this punk thing going on throughout the whole song.
Yeah.
God damn, this band is good. Like truly the OG proper punk band that nobody talks about.
Like what the only other band I would think that would be like punker in the sound and like the aesthetic is MC5. Like they're the only other band, which I'm still gonna just go ahead and keep that as like the true original punk band, just because 1969 and then MC5 becoming like the house band for the White Panther Party and just being a complete fuck you to any kind of like governmental establishment. Like that's punk.
Yeah.
But like they departed so fast from that sound of like Kick Out the Jams and that live record that, yeah, maybe they're the first ones, but not like the best first ones. Or I think Death is probably the best first, right?
Yeah. I mean, I look at MC5 as like, they had the punk attitude before anybody else, you know, with the fuck you, the Kick Out the Jams, motherfucker, all that kind of stuff. It's very much of that punk attitude, but musically it was more rock and roll than it was anything else. It had punk things going on with it musically, but it was really in the end more rock and roll. The same with Stooges. It was more rock and roll than punk. But this has elements of hardcore punk, of the punk you would hear with the Ramones and Sex Pistols 3-4 years later. So I mean, there's a lot of This is way more.
There's only like 2 songs here that I would consider like punk, and like the other half of the rest of the songs are just like classic stuff from this era that are still really good, and the other half is kind of like a more Sabbath inspired kind of like sludgy thing going on.
Okay.
But what I give more props to Death for is like their aesthetic, their name, first of all, right? You naming yourself Death. You're already at a disadvantage being 3 black dudes in a punk band. You're already fucking not going to probably go as far as your counterparts that are not 3 black dudes. And then you name yourself Death. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like you know that's not going to be successful. And everyone's telling you, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And the documentary you watched, one of the brothers, he had said that like basically the guy that had died, David, was like the mastermind of all of it.
Yeah, David
Hasselhoff. He was like the mastermind of everything, and like the name and all that stuff. And he brought up a good point. And of course, this is 20 years later, so 30 years later, so who knows? And he was like, you know, like the day we change our name because he wants us to is the day we might as well just stop making fucking music because he's gonna want us to do something else. Yeah, like, oh, that's cool, man. That's a very like, you know, stick to your guns. Like, fuck you. This is our name. If you don't like it, fuck off. And if we never become successful, fuck it.
Yeah.
At least we tried.
Which is also kind of like the punk thing too. It's like be stubborn as you possibly can be, just to kind of
fault.
Yeah, to a fault.
To a fault.
And that's what this is. I mean, David essentially, I mean, he was a guitar player. His brother Bobby Hackney was the bass player, vocalist, and then Dennis Hackney was the drummer. And David was like, you know what, fuck everybody else, we're gonna do whatever we want. They named the band Death after their dad died, and they wanted to look at death in a more positive way, and so they named the band Death. Because of that, they wanted almost as a remembrance to their dad, who died very tragically. Did you hear how he died?
Yeah,
dude, that's crazy. Like his dad was an electric. He worked on on electrical poles and wires and shit, and he was training somebody, and the guy got zapped. His trainee got zapped.
Sticking like a screwdriver or some shit in something he shouldn't have been sticking it in.
Yeah, got zapped, was unconscious. His dad was driving him to the hospital. The bars had just got out, and he got hit by a drunk driver and died instantly on the spot. Just doing something good for somebody else. And and these guys were maybe not even teenagers yet when their dad died. And so that's
interesting.
That's the story behind
this is
the band.
Interesting. Is in that doc, and then like the descriptions and stuff you read online, is that they bought their instruments with the money their mom got in a car accident settlement, right? But it never, like, the timeline is a little askew, and like it's a long time ago, and proper records are going to be hard to find or not kept. I wonder if that was a settlement. Like their dad dying was what gave them that little boost, and that's why their mom felt more comfortable giving it to them, because her dad did like them playing music and hanging out together and being brothers. That's what I was thinking.
I thought the same thing as well. Yeah, because I tried looking it up too, but there was no definitive timeline. The only thing I ever found was that how they learned to play the instruments, they were just found instruments in like the back alley, like people who threw away guitars and various instruments. That's how they learned how to play on like shitty instruments. But yeah, the mom got a settlement. Some things I read was that she got a settlement from an accident that she was in, but then there were other accounts that were saying that it was just a settlement from a car accident. So
yeah.
So it could very well
that
be
just
either
sounds. Because there's the whole lore of this band. I'm going to go ahead and say that their dad's settlement got them to be like Death, and not that it means anything because they never achieved mainstream success.
Yeah,
but it was cool too watching that doc where the drummer, he had his original drum. Just it was like one tom that was still in the house that they grew up in, and that's like all he had. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I did like fucking tape butter knives to the drum head because I didn't have a snare drum, and that was what I used for like a snare drum for years."
That's so
damn,
cool.
Dude. That's punk, right?
That's
what you do.
It's punk, not having it being poor and just kind of working with what you got. Fucking love it, man. I love that shit. So yeah, I mean they were this funk band for a couple of years. They changed the name to Death. They went more of a rock and roll. I mean, punk wasn't even there was no punk at the time. So at this point it was just rock and roll to them. They're playing, in their bedrooms, practicing in their bedroom. And then at some point they got a hold of a local studio. They went to a local studio, were cutting demos. And then Clive Davis, the famous Clive Davis, came into the picture, really loved the music. They actually got a lot of offering, like record label offers from major labels, Clive Davis being the biggest one, obviously. And he flat out said, like, I'm not going to sign you unless you change the name of the band. Death is not going to sell. And I love the music, but you got to change the name. And David was like, fuck no, I'm not changing the name. The brothers stood there. The brothers they didn't agree with David, but they're like, he's our brother. We gotta follow along, which is in the end kind of stupid, but pretty damn cool. So yeah, they decided. Clive Davis left, and at that point they had recorded 7 songs. They were supposed to record 10 or 12 songs, and they only recorded the 7. Clive Davis pulled out, and it was a huge morale hit to them. And then after that, they playing shows as Death for a while. They moved to Vermont or Maine or something like that, somewhere up in New England. And they were trying to play shows up there, but small city.
Like, nah, dude.
They were the only black guys in town. They're putting up.
Their band's name was Death.
They're putting up posters in town with Death on it. It just didn't happen. So they eventually changed their name to the Fourth Movement. Became more of like a gospel kind of like Christian rock band, and that completely fell flat too. And they kind of went their separate ways at that point. 2 of the brothers went back to Detroit. David stayed in Maine or Vermont, wherever. And then really it literally fell into obscurity. Never talked about again until shortly before David's death. And, David died of cancer in 2001, I believe it was. And he was like, here's the master tapes to Death. Cause they ended up buying all the master tapes. Somehow they were able to keep all the masters.
It was part of like the original deal, and they bought them back for cheap because the guy probably just wanted to make money. And he's just like, nobody's ever going to buy this shit anyway. Go ahead and pay me whatever you have for it. But yeah, it fell into obscurity. Do you see who directed that Death documentary?
No, I
I don't know if
didn't.
you ever watched Entourage. You ever watch Entourage?
I never watched it.
Well, one of the characters, I forgot his name, but his name was Turtle in Entourage. He directed the death
Oh,
documentary.
okay.
So that's why there was a little more like production value for a band that no one ever knew existed.
Even then, the documentary was a little long. I mean,
It
it
was an
could
hour and 45 minutes of a
yeah,
band that
it
only
it
put
could
out
have
30
been.
minutes of
It
music.
should have been an hour long documentary. It was a pretty bloated documentary. A lot of shit could have been cut out.
Oh, there's a lot of Henry Rollins talking. He was aggressively
He was
talking about
barely
his
in it.
black shirt.
He was barely in it,
He had at least 2 talking heads.
which is nothing. Most of it wasn't even talking heads. It was
He should
just,
have 0 talking
it was the
heads.
guys in the band talking. It wasn't even Henry Rollins, Jello, or Elijah Wood or anything. Which was the Elijah Wood one still is so weird to me, but whatever. Anyway, let's get into a couple songs and then we'll talk more about the history of the band, I guess. So 7 songs.
Detroit, what do you want to do, baby boy?
7 songs. I have no stinkers. I think they're all bangers. I think this record's amazing. What do you got here?
So like there's only there. I have my 2 bangers, and then I have 2 songs that like obviously we have to talk about because they were the only officially released songs at this time when this record was supposed to come out.
Yeah.
Right. The single, the 7-inch single that already came out, but
Keep on
Politicians in
Knocking.
My Eyes is my 1B, and also a song that we should talk about. So
Let's get into Politicians. That's my 4B. What do you got on this one?
it's a little low. That's okay. This is side A. This is, for all intents and purposes, this is the first song that the world should have heard for Death, and that's pretty wild because this is crazy. This is crazy here. There's a lot of squirrely like guitar riffs going on, a lot of squirrely, jammy, kind of like weird shit.
Yeah.
But then like you get to that drum part in the chorus, and it's just constant like that, right? Very like Metallica, like very frantic. But then like the bass, dude, the bass goes off on this thing, and there's a lot of bass leads coming out of the choruses and the verses here when it's just him and everybody else is dead quiet. And they come in kind of weird. They come in kind of like, fuck it, let's come in. Like they come in just whenever they feel like it, not like a count or on a measure or on a note. It's just, fuck it, let's come in.
It's more like a jam. It's more like a jammy thing. Like nothing seems too. I mean, obviously the song is written, but it's more like let's kind of play it by ear each time we do a take or we play the song live or something like that. It just seems like just kind of have fun with it. There's nothing about this record or these songs seems very serious. It's just
for sure.
Let's just kind of jam and have a fucking blast playing this music.
And the last 2 minutes of the song is really just like Sabbath-esque jamming.
Yeah.
They're not as good as Sabbath, but these guys liked Sabbath for sure.
Oh, definitely. I mean, so this is the last song on the record. It's the second longest song, 5 minutes and 50 seconds. It's just has the ups and downs, with the really fast kind of spastic Dead Kennedys style parts. Then it has these big kind of soaring choruses, back to the spastic stuff. It's just some instrumental parts. And then the last like 2 minutes of the song is just like this extended, maybe not 2 minutes, but there's this like extended instrumental outro. And like you said, very Black Sabbath like. And just the bass playing, man. He's just like walking all over the fucking frets. Just like do 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 do. It's just going all over. It's fucking good, man. This song is so good.
I like how they count in too. Like this is pre Ramon, so we're doing like the 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 1, 2, 3 now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, 1, 2, 3 now, and I don't know. That's cool. That's a cool little touch.
I like it too. Yeah,
unique. Never heard anybody say it like that before.
And what's cool too, the chorus in this song, it had like there's the it's kind of the soaring sound. He's just hitting those chords on the guitar, letting them ring out. But then the drummer Dennis, he's doing these almost like blast beat thing. He's like da 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 da, very kind of like a slower blast beat before blast beats were really a thing. But then the big just kind of ringing out of the chords. It's just this weird contrast musically, but it works really well. And the way fucking what is it, I forgot the singer's name, the bassist's name, but the way he's singing over it too, and some good wailing, good screaming on this song. This song is fucking wild. It's a fucking wild song.
This song is wild. It's not a punk song though, so like
outside of like
the
spastic stuff, Yeah, it's not a punk song.
It's not a punk song. We're not there yet. So
But this song is also like, because it's this song has a little bit of everything from every song. This is like the thesis statement, even though this is the last song on the record. This is kind of the thesis statement for the band because it has the punk stuff, it has the sludgier Sabbath stuff, it has the more classic rock stuff. It has a little bit of everything here. The funky stuff is on here, all with under 6 minutes. I mean, this song is fucking fantastic, but it has it all. It has it all.
I've also when I was in college, I didn't just take dumb classes like surfing, ping pong, history of rock and roll. I also took legit classes that everybody had to take, and I wrote papers. And some of those papers I wrote, the thesis statement was the last sentence of my essay.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. So you can have a thesis at the last.
Okay. All right.
As the last, at the end.
Okay. Then okay.
It's
yeah. This
build
is the
up.
thesis.
Yeah. No, it's good. I like it.
That's what I think the song is.
I dig.
And lyrically, I don't think there's anything too crazy about their lyrics. They're not bad by any means, but I don't think they're the deepest. And the way the documentary kind of played it, it seemed like they were way more spiritual than the songs really were. You know what I mean? Like, especially with David, he was meant like David, the guitar player. Obviously, he wasn't the singer or vocalist, but I mean, he was the way they talked. The brothers talked about him was just like he was like this whole spiritual kind of not guru, but just this guy on a completely different plane, just a different view on life and how much they admired him. But I think it was because he was their brother and he had passed away. At this point, he had been dead for almost 10 years or over 10 years at this point. So you're going to think more fondly of a brother or a best friend who died as time goes on. So, but yeah, I otherwise, yeah, lyrically, I don't think there's too much. Lyrics aren't too crazy. They're not super. They're not bad, but they're not great.
They're not deep. They're not bad, but they're a lot more positive than I thought they would be. Like I thought I was going to talk about like dumb shit, but he's not talking about dumb shit. He's not getting too deep with it, but they're really positive overall.
Yeah,
I like that. That was cute. Anyways, we were so rudely fucking interrupted. I like these lyrics a lot. I like when lyrics aren't just about like, you know, like your typical fucking machismo rock stuffs of this era. Mm-hmm. They're a little bit deeper. And I like the idea that this dude David was like, I don't know how like a better way to just put it, but like kind of like a, you know, kind of like on a different plane of existence, thinking about like what happens after death, man, like that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what it seems like. Some of his lyrics are very existential. There we go. Very existential. And yeah, he was religious. They're all pretty much, they're all sons of like a preacher man. And so they're very God-fearing kids. But it's kind of cool that they can make this type of noise and this type of music in an era where like Motown is dominating the scene in Detroit.
Yeah. And that was
if you're not Motown, then you're not anything in Detroit.
That was the big thing too. I mean, they coming into it all, they knew that they weren't going to go anywhere because Motown was literally the only thing coming out of Detroit. I mean, no rock and roll band was coming out of Detroit that was relevant. I mean, Grand Funk, yeah. MC5,
the biggest rock and roll band.
But even then, Motown was significantly bigger. Like even Grand Funk, yeah, they were huge, but they didn't sell as many records or singles or anything like that as the Motown artist did.
Dude, Grand Funk sold out Shea Stadium before the Beatles did.
I know, but they didn't sell as many records. And that's where
on a massive scale. But Grand Funk was huge. They sold a lot of records.
But the labels didn't make money off of concerts. They made money off selling records.
But also, Grand Funk, I don't think sold a lot of records until that gold record, which is like their 5th or 6th record already. So, but they sold millions. Grand Funk sold millions.
They did. I know. I know. I agree with you. Grand Funk,
but like Motown, like the whole scene, like Berry Gordy, that was a fucking factory, right? Yeah. That was just like churning shit out over and over and over.
But everything was going gold, platinum. Like it was just shit was, you know, everything was.
It was the best. It was the best. If you like that music, it was the best. Like dude, you got Smokey Robinson straight out the gates, right? Like it was the best.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Yes.
Detroit's a cool spot for like musical history, but it's not like a great spot for musical history. It's interesting. It's fun. Yeah. There's a lot of cool things, but like I know I I know you're not. We're just not big R&B Motown guys. We're just not big soul dudes. So like that part of Detroit history is kind of just like, oh, I get it. I understand like why you like it, why you and love it, appreciate it, enjoy it, but I just don't like it. I don't give a fuck. I don't
I
like
mean,
it.
and we've talked about it off the pod. I mean, unless you grow up with like R&B and that kind of stuff and funk music, I don't feel like you're going to get into it as an adult. It's not going to happen. It has to be like kind of shown to you as you grow up and you have that kind of nostalgia, that attachment to it. And that's no disrespect to the music, because some of the music is fucking amazing. It's fantastic, but I just can't get into it, and you can't get into most of it as well. It's whatever. I mean, we grew up in especially me, it was just all white people. You grew up in like, the Mexican white kind of household, so you got some experience outside of the white people. But
we definitely, there was nobody in the Mexican neighborhood listening to soul and funk and stuff.
But at least you didn't. But yeah, you didn't just listen to white people music. You listened to the band of music and that kind of stuff.
That's why it's so cool that Death like branched out of that, and it's kind of cool too to hear like David or them talk about David the guitarist. Like some of his biggest influences were Pete Townsend.
Yeah,
and you hear a lot of fucking his like Pete's like playing in David's playing, especially in those chords. And they even said like, if I can master like the Pete Townsend chords and just do like Jimi Hendrix leads, I'll be the best guitarist ever.
Yeah, he did say that.
Dude, that's fun. That's solid, man. That's not bad. I like that. That's cool. You're right.
And you hear a lot of cool, like there's some really cool leads on this record too. It's some decent, like good solos, but nothing that stands out too much. But it's the leads, the transitions out of certain parts. I mean, I feel like everybody shines, but nobody shines more than the other, if that makes sense, on this record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, it's one great cohesive unit, and they all have their own little parts and solos and intricate parts, but nothing really is better than the other. They're all equally just as good. It's fucking crazy. It's so good. This band is so good.
That is true. Like everyone does have kind of like their own part that fits into the overall puzzle, and you take one out and like the puzzle is empty and missing something. So that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. What's your 1B?
My 1B is Rock and Roll Victim. Second song.
Rock and Roll Victim, baby. This is the first punk song on the album. Keep on Knocking is not a punk song. This is the first punk song on the album.
It is. So yeah, it's that really, really busy fucking 18th note hi-hats that I can't even do it with my mouth.
That's
but
good.
And then just the busy guitar and everything. And then it's a spastic, very, very high, up tempo punk song. Really, that's what it is. And then so
the song is wild.
It's so cool too, because it's like they'll play the da, 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 and then it all stop and ring out, and then the vocals will just keep going. You know what I mean? It's just like, I just fucking love it. And then it'll just drop into the chorus or another verse, and man, this song is incredible. This song is so good. I mean, this is
too, right? When he's like, wow.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck he's saying in those parts. Like, it's amazing. It's cool.
Like the screaming and everything. You don't really hear that from very many bands at this time. I mean, so technically this album came out in 1975. Or it was recorded, it was recorded in 1975. It didn't come out in 75, but it was recorded in 75. But yeah, no bands were sounding like this vocally, especially the screaming like that. It was weird. I mean, unless you were looking at like Screamin' Jay Hawkins or like some like blues jazz guys that were doing shit that was so wonky. But
I will say though, I do hear a lot of like, especially in like this, the excited aggressiveness of the vocals, a lot of Ted Nugent just being
fair,
wily
and
kind of just like over the top. Also from Michigan.
It's true.
So I do hear that, but it doesn't take away from this. It only adds to this, right? They're influenced by their peers. They want to I like what you did there. I just want to do it my way. And I like that. I like that more than anything. Like you took from Pete Townsend. I like what you're doing, but I just want to do it my way. Fucking love that shit.
Yeah, I like it too. I also hear some David Lee Roth. Obviously this predates David Lee Roth, but some of like the scream, not on this song, but the album overall. There's some moments that I'm like, damn, dude, just sounds like Van Halen or David Lee Roth in Van Halen. Just kind of wild, nonsensical screaming and yelling and just having a
Yeah.
fucking blast,
Just having a
playing,
good time.
having a good time, just playing to the emotions of the song and how it makes you feel. You're so excited. No words, just noises coming out of you.
Playing
Love it.
loud, fast, and with your heart. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you need, baby.
And with this song too, there are moments where the drums are super busy, the bass is super busy, but then David on guitar is just playing this like cool little lead, kind of not playing up to speed per se, just kind of noodling a little bit, but not going crazy, if that makes any sense. Very kind of bluesy moments when everybody else is going crazy. It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
I thought too, like if that riff, that whatever the riff that is, if they would have just like made that heavier, this would have been like the heaviest song that fucking like anybody has ever heard 20 years prior. Like it's already heavy, but if that riff was just fucking like crunchy and just like super like on the low end, that would have been wild.
Yeah, I was trying to think like what band kind of plays that. Not Metallica. Metallica's more chuggy. But I was trying to think of another like metal band that came maybe a few years after this that were kind of doing that. Not like Judas Priest, because Judas Priest played in like a higher register, but like more just like on the lower strings, kind of that heavier riffage, but played it fast. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. This song reminded me, even though it's a little bit different, but it kind of makes sense what's the Sabbath on pair of the see, is that Electric?
Electric Wizard.
That's what this reminds me of. It's like that. It's just, this is like sped up fucking exponentially.
Yeah, played twice as fast.
But I feel like that's like the same kind of concept. What's going on here? Let's play it really aggressively. Let's have some wild vocals and see where we go. See what happens.
Man, it's so good.
Is it Electric Wizard?
Yeah, it's Electric Wizard. I'm pretty sure.
Sounds very like country banjo.
Now you have me second guessing myself, but I'm pretty sure it's Electric Wizard.
Yeah. Electric Funeral.
Electric Funeral. There we go.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Because that sounds wildly fucking heavy and crazy and silly.
And right now, Skip is he's probably screaming right now. He's probably like, oh my God, these guys don't know the other, my Brummy Brothers, Black Sabbath.
Oh, fucking Electric Wizard, isn't it? Isn't it? I-N-N-I-T. Isn't it?
Isn't it? Isn't it, bro?
What the fuck word that is? What is that? Is that not even a word?
God damn.
I see the subtitles all the time of Ted Lasso. It always says "in it." I laugh and giggle. And of course, I'm sitting there by myself watching. I go, "In it." Bob my head to the side.
We got to cyberbully our one British listener of the pod, Skip. We got to do it at least once every episode. We got to cyberbully him. So
that's true.
Anyway,
that's what happens when you really dedicate yourself to be a fan of something is you get shit on all the time.
Yeah, and we will shit on you, literally and metaphorically.
I will metaphorically shit on anybody. That's about as far as I go.
All right. I'm kidding. I'm not going to literally shit on you. That's disgusting.
Literally. You mean literally or literally?
Literally will not shit on you.
Yeah, Rock and Roll Victim. This is good.
It's a great song. So what's your 2B here? Second banger.
Let the World Turn. Let the World. I like the slow jams, dude. I like the.
That's fine. That's my 7B, my lowest B, but let's get into it.
And this one's not even like even though this is a slow one, this is still pretty fast, right? Like the aggressive parts are fucking aggressive, if not some of the fastest parts on the record. But you can't be a rock band from this era, no matter what, no matter who you're trying to be, without a song like this. You have to have some overly psych type song. But this one's over 5 minutes long, so we get some time to like get back into like the exciting shit. I also got a lot of Turnstile on this, especially the last record.
Yes,
right.
That's what I put in here too.
Fuck ton of Turnstile, dude.
Yep. Yeah, the Glow On record from 2021 or 22.
Glow On, there it is.
Yeah, because it has the song starts with that kind of ethereal guitar playing, like the slow strumming of the reverbed out, kind of delay ridden guitars and kind of melancholy vocals very turnstile glow on, but then it drops into it kind of picks up a little bit. You kind of get this like Pink Floyd thing going on. It's kind of like funky Pink Floyd thing, and then it drops into the punk stuff. I mean, this is straight up a prog song. This is the longest song on record, 5 minutes 56 seconds long, and this is a straight prog song. The jumping of genres, but it constantly it builds and builds to the punk stuff. Then it drops back down. You get this like kind of extended drum solo, which is so weird too. For a band like this, you get that drum solo, and then that
stops.
It just stops
right back in the slow part,
the slow ethereal thing, and then it rounds it out with the punk stuff. So I mean, it's just like a really cool fucking written song. I fucking love this song. It's an incredible song. God, cool. I love it.
And I like that his like guitar tone doesn't really change throughout the song, so he's not like toggling switches or hitting pedals to where it sounds like two different guitarists playing.
Yeah,
it's the same kind of like almost like toned down guitar throughout, just a little bit of distortion in the fast parts.
Yeah,
and I like that. It kind of keeps the kayfabe a little bit from beginning to end.
It makes the song consistent. You know what I mean? It doesn't sound like it doesn't make the transitions very jarring. You know what I mean? Like even though it drops into the punk stuff quickly with no real transitions, but the fuzz isn't that much crazier than what you're hearing with the ethereal tone. I get what you mean.
It's crazy because like this song, for me, what makes the song amazing is there's so much dead air. Like there's so much just absolute quietness for a 6-minute song where there's nobody playing. There's probably a solid like 10, 15 seconds throughout the entire song where there's nobody playing. There's nothing going on. Yeah. It's like split up into like 2-second increments every here and there. But then like there's some like rad drum part that comes in and just breaks it up instantly and kind of like, oh fuck, I forgot I'm listening to a band that's called Death and they play hard ass fucking music. So let's go. Wakes you up.
It does. Yeah, this is really an incredible song. I love it.
Good.
I mean, lyrically, to me, this is like just not letting the past control you and just to kind of move on in life. Just kind of go with the flow. That's really what I feel lyrically the song is about.
I wrote this in their Carpe D's Nuts type of song.
Carpe D's Nuts. That makes sense. Dumb. So dumb.
Yeah.
So, Let the World Turn. My 2B, Keep on Knocking.
Keep on Knocking.
The opening song. This would arguably be the catchiest song on the entire record. Right?
Yeah. I can see that.
Starts out with the Stairway to Heaven kind of thing. The da 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 da.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what it is. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, it's that Stairway to Heaven thing, and then
that's fucking the same chords, huh?
Almost exactly the same. Yeah, it's the strumming. Everything is Stairway to Heaven transition. But
also, I would also say Pete Townsend too did a lot of those type of sounding chords, but
that's true.
They're all a bunch of limey, so I don't know if that's
fuck them, right?
I don't know.
You know, it's Britland. They don't count.
It is funny that like we shit on Britland so much, but like all of our early idols are all English musicians and have like severely impacted our careers and just like music and outside of music and everything about it. But like, yeah, fuck them. Who cares?
That's true. That's true.
It's just Zeppelin and Sabbath. Who gives a shit? Dime a dozen.
And even after that Zeppelin intro, the Stairway to Heaven intro, it becomes like it's a Thin Lizzy song. Vocally, musically, it's very, very Thin Lizzy. Like a right? Do you not hear that when you hear come on knock keep on knocking?
I think you're right because you kind of hear two guitars here. Even though we know there's only one guitar, we do hear that rhythm, and then we constantly hear that noodling over the rhythm, like near. It's kind of hot, it's kind of wanky, but it's not a solo. It's just I'm trying to follow the melody the best I can on a lead guitar part.
Yeah,
but yeah, I would say that's Thin Lizzy for sure.
Very Thin Lizzy, and that chorus is so catchy. Love the chorus here.
Is Thin Lizzy part of Britland? I don't know. Are they from Scotland
they're
or Ireland or
maybe
Scotland
Wales?
or Ireland?
I think they're Welsh, right? Maybe
they're from that that whole arc of the
It's all
UK.
It's all Britland anyway.
I don't think they're Scottish. I think they're either Irish or Welsh, but they could be Scottish. I don't know. I really don't know.
I'm looking it up because this is going.
I know they're not Britlanders.
They're Irish. They're Irish.
Oh, they're Irish. That's my.
Well, that's part of Britland, right? Yeah, Ireland's part of Britland. Yeah, Ireland is part of Britland.
I think when we say, as far as like when I say Britland, I'm specifically talking about
England,
like
Wales.
London and just like the small surrounding part of it. That's about it.
Yeah, so England and Wales is what you're referring to, and then
whereas like Ireland is
Scotland,
part of like
Scotland, Ireland,
the UK
don't matter to you.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, Ireland matters to me because there's some cool movies that I like that feature like Irish immigrants to the Americas.
Okay. All right.
That's about it. But like Ireland's part of, I guess not all of Ireland's part of the UK, but like
yeah, a good chunk of it is.
See, I don't know if it's the north of Ireland or Southern Ireland. It's Northern Ireland, right? Northern Ireland.
I think Northern Ireland is separate.
Northern Ireland sounds.
It's separate. That's where like all the. I think Northern. I'm pretty sure Northern Ireland is separate, and then what is it? The Republic of Ireland is what's part of the UK.
The IRA. So no wait. So
or
you think
am I crazy? I don't know. I mean, Skip is going to be so mad. He's going to leave us so many messages about this shit. Like, what the fuck do you fucking Americans know about this
UK
shit?
is England and Wales. We know that for a fact.
England, Wales,
Scotland's there.
Yeah.
So now it's just a matter of how Ireland is broken apart. Is Ireland broken apart where Northern Ireland is part of the UK or Southern Ireland? But like Southern Ireland doesn't sound right.
I'm pretty sure. Well, it's called like the Republic of Ireland or something like that. And I'm pretty sure that's part of the UK. And then Northern Ireland is its own thing. I think I'm I'm like 99% sure.
I'm going to go opposite and then we'll see what Skip says. I'm going opposite just because Northern Ireland sounds familiar in some capacity.
And you know what? We're not even going to look it up. We're literally on a computer and we can look it up right now, but we're not going to look it up.
I don't want to look it up because in the end, I don't give a shit about Ireland in its entirety. I don't care. Again, I only watch movies like Boondock Saints and The Departed and things like that.
Which aren't even in Ireland.
They're not even in Ireland.
Boston.
They just featured Irish immigrants in the Americas.
Fake Irishmen.
Yes. Ooh, The Irishman. I like that one too.
I still haven't watched that.
If you got 4 hours to kill, watch The Irishman.
Is it actually, because I like long movies, is it actually worth watching?
It's
is it actually
honestly,
good,
it's worth, I've watched it once. It's worth watching once. Watch it once and call it a day. It's like 3.5 hours. It's fucking long. Does not need to be that long, but it's a good movie.
Okay. All right. I'll watch it someday.
Every time I think of Irish people, I just think of Mark Wahlberg, which I don't even know if he's Irish or has any Irish blood.
And Mark Wahlberg is like the worst. He's not. He's a shit actor.
I'm gonna look that one up.
He's
I gotta look at the
actor.
Mark Wahlberg thing.
Is he actually? He's actually Irish.
I gotta look see if he got Irish blood in him for sure. Just because I'm curious now on that one.
This is quite the tangent we've gone on too, from death to Mark Wahlberg is he Irish? So that's good. It's good.
No, he's just
like
okay. So, okay,
he's just from Boston.
His mom has this is stupid. Like you search on like Wikipedia and it says his dad has Swedish and Irish blood, and his mom has Irish, English, and French Canadian blood. Okay, get the fuck out of here.
Meaning his family immigrated to the United States probably in like the early 1800s. He has no connection to Ireland. He just is from Boston.
Yeah, which means he just talks like that because people from Boston are fucking annoying. That's
Wait, have you been to Boston?
Boston accent's gross. No, it's on my list though.
I know it's on my list too. I would love to go to Boston.
Let's go. Let's fucking do it now.
Let's do it now. Let's do it now, baby. Let's do it now, baby. Anyway, keep on knocking. Damn, that was quite the road we went down.
Yes.
So
we're history buffs.
That we are. So keep on knocking's my number 2. Lyrically, this one kind of it dates back to their earlier days, which was like a year before they recorded this song. Of them playing in their bedroom, in one of the bedrooms in their house, and people heard the music from outside. And they were literally trying to get inside the house, trying like, what's going on? Why is it so loud? Blah blah blah. And moving my head like that. And so and it's about those people trying to see them play and trying to get into what they were doing. And so that's what the song is about. Keep on knocking. Great song. absolute fucking banger of a
Isn't
song.
it crazy how much like history classes we've taken over the years?
Yeah.
Every year in school over here, like you have to take a history class because it's such like an all-encompassing thing, and it rarely, as far as I can remember, it rarely included like contemporary history.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
who gives a fuck?
the I remember when we were in school, the farthest we went in history, like to us, was Nixon. Like that was the last president, or like that era, like the Vietnam War and Nixon was like the last era I ever, or Lyndon, or was it Lyndon? Yeah, Lyndon Johnson was the last era, I guess, of American history I remember ever learning. I remember learning a little bit about the not even just the Soviet Union, but not the fall of the wall, or the fucking wall falling, the Berlin Wall falling.
Yeah,
Because even then, that was only 10 years prior to, that was still very new. Because the wall fell in '89, I believe, or
it's just
'88.
like if you're trying to get kids to pay attention and care about history, then like you got to stop talking about like the fucking French Renaissance when we're 14 years old. We don't give a fuck about the French Renaissance when we're 14 years old.
Yeah,
Like we need a little, maybe like World War II at 14 years old would have been better because it's a little more interactive, right? It hits a home a little bit closer. But like, dude, I don't give a fuck about these things when I'm 13, 14 years old.
yeah,
Just don't.
and also like world history, it doesn't really affect the United States the same way it does other countries. You know what I mean? Like we're pretty
We're new.
isolated. We're new. We're pretty
We're
isolated.
new.
So I don't know.
We have the best history, but yeah, we're new.
The best, Jerry. The best.
We have the correct, I should say, we have the correct history.
Yes,
Our history is correct.
that's true. 100%. Only good history.
Only good history, correct. Anyway,
That's so dumb.
we'll talk about the history of Detroit. I read some
Yeah,
stuff
let's
about
get into
the
Detroit. Yeah, let's get into Detroit.
musical history of Detroit. I don't know if you did. It wasn't very exciting.
Yeah.
Basically just like the migration, right? From the Jim Crow laws, people escaping. We talked about going to Chicago, but the biggest dude that went to Detroit, because he was like, oh, everyone else is going to Chicago. I should go where people are not going to play my music. But John Lee Hooker, he went to Detroit and founded like a massive blues resurgence in Detroit. But they had already had like a big musical scene from the big band era in like the 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
Even so much as our boy Skip over there, his boy Henry, like the fucking 27th. I think it was Henry the 8th. I think he was a musician. And I read a story that he played drums or some shit, and he came over to the Americas one time and played like an impromptu band, yeah, in Detroit at some point. But
Wow.
Detroit just seems like a city that like it was supposed to be like a Paris of the West. It was supposed to be like Paris of the U.S. because the river's gonna be beautiful and
the lake.
The weather's supposed to be nice and like it's in a perfect location. But I think the best and worst. I'm not a historian. This is just from what I've read and my very limited searches online. Mm-hmm. It just seems like the automotive industry both like made Detroit amazing and fucking crippled that city forever, and it will never recover from that because like Henry Ford brought jobs, factories. It was the boom of an American economy, and it was amazing. Everybody loved it. And then like the war hit, and all that stuff turned to like armaments for World War II. And to say that everybody like, banded together for the betterment of society in the war. Like, dude, like racial tensions were crazy in World War II in Detroit. Fucking absolutely wild. There were riots where people died during World War II when they're supposed to be making tanks and shells and shit for the troops over there. So Detroit has a horrible history, and it just seems like after World War II, man, after like the pretty much like the Motor City boom ended, Detroit's it's never going to recover. No. It's never going to recover.
No, it's been in a sharp decline since probably the late 70s, mid 70s.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
It really has been.
And like Motown helped and that was a big thing. But that's a very specific niche genre that's something that existed for a small period of time
Mm-hmm.
for a small subgroup of people that want to spend money on it. Otherwise, Detroit is just home to Bill Haley and a couple other musicians here and there. But
Yeah.
man, Detroit
Jack
sucks, dude. I think that's really what I wanted to say without trying to put it very nice. Detroit just seems like it sucks. I've never been there,
Yeah, same here. I've never
but
been
it seems
there.
like it fucking sucks. Detroit seems like it sucks. It just does. It seems like it fucking sucks.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like they were trying to be like Chicago. Like it kind of seemed like that way too. Like they were trying to make it like another music mecca, another music capital, like Chicago was with the blues. But it never quite took off. And the music that did come out of Detroit in the '60s up through, I don't know, let's just say the '90s with Jack White, it came from like a very kind of like extremely working class, kind of a dark era, kind of just everybody's kind of pissed off. You know, I mean, MC5 super pissed off. Ted Nugent comes out of there. Motor City Madmen, right? You know what I mean? It's just like he wasn't angry or anything, but there was nobody like Ted Nugent when he came out. Like the Amboy Dukes, Ted Nugent, nothing like that shit. So it's just like Detroit just pumps out with these like musicians and things that you just kind of don't see, and it's just they're kind of like the black sheep of music. Eminem came out of here. You know, Kid Rock, for like him or hate him, Kid Rock is extremely popular, but he's certainly a black sheep in whatever genre he's in. Country music, rock music, hip hop. He is the black sheep. You know, it's just Detroit comes out with some weird fucking shit. It's cool though.
Yeah, it's not Chicago, man. Like that's all it is. Like the great migration of blacks from the South that were trying to escape the Jim Crow laws, and they're trying to have a better life, and they're basically going to Chicago. Like everyone's going to Chicago, you know, Pennsylvania and everywhere else, but they're going as far north as they can. But everybody's going to Chicago. Detroit is close enough to where you think like, I don't know, everyone's going to Chicago.
Also,
maybe I should go to Detroit and make a name for myself.
But Detroit, I mean, even to this day, Detroit is fucking cold. Like you go there during the winter because it's right on the lakes, all the Great Lakes there, everything fucking freezes. Like
I mean, still Chicago.
Yeah, but not to the extent that, like Detroit and most of Michigan is just it fucking.
Bro, Chicago
over.
is fucking.
It is.
So Chicago. Chicago is like 40 below. Dude. It's like 30 below. It's fucking cold.
Yeah, no, I agree. But Detroit
the
has
difference
that.
Is like Chicago already had like an established scene. There's already things going on, and like what Chicago had for them, they got lucky with was like Chess Records. Chess Records exploded when like essentially when Chuck Berry was starting to like drop actual LPs, and when Chess Records stopped doing 7-inches and started doing full records, right? Where Chuck Berry's not releasing just like Maybelline as a 7-inch, but now it's like after school sessions, and then Chuck on top. These things are making that. That's why John Lee Hooker left Detroit to go for Chicago, is because hey, instead of doing 7-inches, I can do a whole fucking record and call it a day. And I don't have to fucking work so goddamn much. I can just do it all in one session and then start getting those residuals, start touring and making more money. Well, that's what Chicago had, was like Chess Records and people thinking about like the long term, whereas Detroit was still like grappling onto this like automotive boom where they thought like, oh, these jobs will be aplenty, because they were aplenty. There was a fuck ton of jobs in Detroit. That's people went to Detroit, but they're not going to last forever, dude. No. And they didn't last forever. And you can see it now. And Detroit is just a forgotten city that is sad. I mean, the Detroit Lions, dude, they're at the butt of jokes.
Yeah.
And even like, even your boy Tim Allen, right? Even a Home Improvement, always the butt of jokes.
I was waiting to bring up, Home Improvement and Tim Allen, but yeah.
Dude, always the butt of jokes. The Detroit Tigers, always the butt of jokes. It's like the Pistons. Oh my God. The scrappiest like fucking players in the NBA back in the day, right? Did
you mention the Tigers of jokes too? Detroit Tigers?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
we've had some good players over the years, but like it's Detroit, overall, man. It's you're right. It's a blue collar city. It's rugged. It's men that go to work at the factory and come home, and like that's it.
And what I like, this conversation kind of makes me think of is Detroit is like the Birmingham of England. Like Chicago might be like the Liverpool or the London, but then fucking Detroit is the Birmingham. It's not that in the fact that it's the working man's town. It's industrial. It's gritty. It's just very kind of like, you got to be tough to come out of coming out of Birmingham, basing this off of like the Black Sabbaths and things like that. and bands that have come out of Birmingham. And the same goes for Detroit. Like it's the very working class industrial town. Obviously, Birmingham has a much richer history dating back a few hundred years, but I feel like that would be a fair comparison.
It's crazy too, man, because like Michigan's got money. Like they got some like pretty well known like colleges that make a lot of fucking money that are state schools, and that's a whole privatization of public schools in America. But like Michigan has got money.
Yeah.
And Detroit is just like this I don't even know how to even like say this without being too aggressively mean to a certain person, right? It's like the redheaded stepchild of fucking this area of the US. It's gross, it's dingy, it's dirty, it's forgotten. The people there cling to either some kind of hope like Jack White, and he's out there pitching out the first pitch of like the Detroit Tigers games. Man, that's the best you guys, fucking Jack White. The rich history of Detroit, and you have Jack White throw out your first pitches for the first pitch of the season. Like, damn, that's bad, dude.
Okay.
Yeah. Detroit's sad, man. Detroit is sad. It is a sad, sad city.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And the people like that live in the heart of Detroit or the outskirts of Detroit, they're just way too fucking poor to be able to save any kind of money to move out anywhere else. And they're just, Detroit is gross. I do want to visit though. I want to go see. These are all the cool places I want to go visit.
I'd be down
it's
to
part of our
visit
country.
Detroit,
and I want to go see it, but damn, I don't want to spend any more than a couple of days there.
Yeah, same here. Same here. All right,
it's like generational poverty.
It really is. Yeah, dude. And I work a lot with real estate, and for years, over the last couple of years, I've worked in like the real estate industry. Dude, people are like, yeah, Detroit's the next place. Like people are going to Detroit, buying properties for $25,000,
$30,000,
$30,000, and they'll rehab this property, and it fucking looks great. Like in a lot of cases, it looks fucking great, but then you never really hear anything about it after. Yeah, you bought this property, you put $60,000 into it, and you're trying to sell it for $300,000. Like they're trying people are trying so hard to gentrify Detroit, and a lot of things I've seen, it's not fucking happening. It's not happening.
Detroit's. And again, never been there, but a lot of things that I've seen too, Detroit's very much like Malibu, where you do have really, really nice houses that are not worth millions like in Malibu, but you know, they are $300,000 house, $300,000 house. But then across the street where like the picture doesn't show, there's a shack where like a family's been living there for generations that barely has a roof. The front door doesn't fucking work. All the windows are busted out. And that house is worth, I mean, it's not worth anything, to be honest. It needs to be condemned.
Yeah.
But that's why like Detroit's never gonna be anything, because these people aren't like dirt poor where they're like eating dirt and shit and like living with no fucking shoes. Yeah. But they're just poor enough to keep you there, you know?
Yeah.
Like give you just enough food to keep you fed a little bit, but you're always just a little bit hungry. But you're not too hungry to change, just a little bit hungry.
Yeah, and then and then you bring pride into it too. It's like, well, I'm from Detroit. I want to keep, I can never leave Detroit. Pride also comes into all of this as well, a little bit in a lot of cases, but I don't know. Anyway, let's get off this. All right, so we're done with Detroit. Do you want to get into a couple other songs? What do you want to do here?
I mean, I could shit talk big cities all day.
I could too, but these are quite. I mean, we talked shit so much about LA last week. Talked a lot of shit on Detroit now.
I think like the difference is like LA could be the greatest place on earth, but the people there are fucking horrible. Whereas Detroit is the worst place on earth, but the people there seem pretty dope. Yeah. So, like, just pick up the people from LA and pick up the people from Detroit and just
swap them. Yeah.
Yeah. And
that would work
with those fuckers from LA.
Oh man,
you know who you
beer.
are.
Jesus.
Don't do that again.
Just drink a bunch of foam.
Yeah. No. Why would you drink foam? Just wait till
because it was going to spill over. That's why. Don't know how to pour a beer. Anyway, death. That's what we're doing. Let's get into another song. We have what?
Well,
three songs left.
3 more songs. Yeah.
Let's get into Freaking Out. What does that sit for you?
I was going to go in order, but we can do Freaking Out. Freaking Out. Death. This one. This was kind of like right in the middle for me. This is my 5B.
My 4, yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, this one, dude, that shout is that death when he shouts it out. That's just so wild,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh, we should change our name. Like, no one's gonna like our name, and then you shout out the name like this, so everybody can hear it. Just as a
Yeah.
good like fuck you, right? I love
It
that so
is.
much.
Yeah, it's just under 3 minutes, and it's just a really good punk song. It's that dun 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 dun. It's just very. It just it keeps you going. It keeps you. It makes it just. It's exciting. It's a really exciting song, especially for this time, 1974, 75. And then the chorus. It's just him
Bring it out.
freaking out, and then the drums are dun 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 dun
A little
dun dun
broken
dun.
drum beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool.
God,
Bring it
it's
out,
so
bring
punk.
it out. Yeah.
So
It's a
punk.
good frantic song. It's a good frantic song. It's wild. It's cool. It's fun.
Mhm.
It's fun. I didn't even look up how old these guys were when when they recorded this shit. How old?
Yeah,
were
I
these
didn't
dudes?
either. Seven. Wow, weird.
I guess I didn't look it up because you can't like you can't like click on them.
Oh yeah,
Oh, but
that's true.
it has her birthday. So 1952 for David. So 52, 62, so like 20
23. I mean,
when they started jamming to this.
yeah. So I mean, they were in their early 20s when they were writing and recording this record. Early 20s, late teens, early 20s. So it's pretty cool, man. It's actually really cool. It's really
It is cool. It's cool because they're in their early 20s here, so they're starting to jam these songs out. They're starting to play music probably like late 60s. So like MC5, they had to have heard that record already.
Oh, I'm sure.
They had to have heard K Out the Jams, and they were just fucking blown away. And in upcoming years, more kind of the proto punk stuff is coming out, and they're kind of developing their style of I want that aggression, but I want like again Pete Townshend's guitar playing, or I want like kind of like Sabbath sludginess, jammy sound. So they're really refining their craft, but really what they're doing is refining what we know as punk is what's happening there.
Absolutely, yeah. They this is I don't care what anybody says. This is the original punk band. More so than MC5 and the Stooges. This is the OG punk band. This is what every band afterwards sounded like. Every band afterwards sounded like this. At least 3 or 4 of the songs on this record. Every band sounded like it. I don't care. I don't give a fuck.
Okay.
What was I gonna say too? Oh yeah, did you listen to any of the other the songs that they recorded before and after this?
Yeah, so listen to their demos, listen to the song they did well after this. The demos were great.
Yeah, the demos are
Demos were fucking cool. They were great. I liked them. Even the song they did, like I think it was a single or some shit they did well after this. That was solid. I had no problem with it. Wasn't great. Didn't have the same panache as this one.
cool. Yeah.
Their new record, right? That's what it was called, I think.
Or yeah, something like that. Came out in I think it was 2014 or 2015. They put it out of new material. And it was fine. It was nothing bad about it, but it just didn't have the same charm. I think it was because it didn't have the same history, or you know what I mean. It just the lore behind it was different.
It's too late.
Yeah,
It's too late.
Too late.
Through no fault of their own, dude. Like just
100%.
like all the things that are negative about this band are not their fault in any capacity.
Yeah.
Man, if this band had dropped that first record 5 years later, just 5 years later,
They could have blown up.
this conversation would be so fucking different.
Yeah. Or even, goddamn, or even a year before Ramon. Or God, this is almost a year before. But yeah, I don't know.
But like you honestly need the Ramones, you need the whole the New York versus Sex Pistols thing. You need that
Unfortunately.
with shitty white guys to really bring to light that there's our better punkers out there, like the Clash, and then like Death. Like again, if Death had dropped this 5 years later. 5 years.
It could have been something. Yeah, they could have. Who knows what? Had they put it out?
We could be talking about the big four of punk, right?
Yeah.
We could be talking about the big four. That's crazy.
Like we talk about like the big four of thrash, with Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, and Anthrax. We could be talking about the big four of punk. And yeah, had they come out with this record in 78 or 79, I mean, this honestly, and who knows how they would have progressed through the early 80s. Because had they put this record out in 78, 79, like every other punk band, they probably would have put a record out every year for the next 5 to 7 years. And who knows where they would have gone. And considering these guys actually are good at their instruments, they're good singers, they know how to write really good songs. They're not they're not basing their whole band around an image. They're basing it around their music and their the feel of it all, the groove of it all.
Yeah.
This band could have been, God, they could have gone so many places. But then you get the Fourth Movement. Did you listen to that music?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. And then they came out with, and then after
I
David,
get it, though.
It was this very Christian gospel-y thing, rock thing. But then there was that lamb bread, that reggae thing they did. I just didn't care. I did not care at all. I'm not big on a lot of reggae. Most of it I just don't care about. But and lamb bread, it wasn't my thing at all.
It's a very generic, like Jimmy Cliff sounding reggae. It's just whatever's. But I do get it. I do get the gospel thing. These are churchgoers. These are God fearing people, and they've been that way since the beginning. So I appreciate it. But damn, what happened to you? What happened to you guys in high school? You said you was the fucking man. What happened to you? Right.
So I think we should wrap it up soon. But one thing I wanted to mention about the re-release of the songs in 2009. So kind of the quick story behind all of that was, like we had talked about earlier, the 7-inch had been floating around for a couple decades at this point, and very few people knew about it. I mean, it was very much a gatekeepy kind of thing within the vinyl community. And then somebody uploaded some MP3s online onto some forum back in the late 2000s. And then in San Francisco, I believe it was, they were playing some of these songs around town, and come to find out, Bobby, the bass player, vocalist of this band, his son Julian was going to school in San Francisco, or I don't know what he was doing in San Francisco, whatever he was doing. And he was his one of his close friends, like, she came to him and said, "Oh, this is a great fucking band I heard at a friend's party. You should check it out." And he listened to the song, and this is my dad. Like, this is straight up my dad. This is how he sings. So he called his dad and he said, "Were you ever in a band called Death? And was this your song?" And his dad was like blown away. Like, "How do you know about this?" And his dad was like, "Yeah, this is me and your two uncles. And this is our band before you even born, this is our band." And and he told the story to his son, and his son was so blown away by it. So Bobby's son Julian and his two other brothers formed a band called Rough Francis. And what they were doing at the beginning, they were just covering death songs to spread the word of death, essentially. And then eventually putting their own tunes into it, but trying to spread the word of death and convince his dad and uncles to release the master tapes and put out this record that they put out in 2009. And it kind of blew up from there. So it was all kind of accidental, and that's part of the lore of it. And also
very grassroots. And also, I don't know how true the story is. It could be kind of exaggerated, but the story was, just before David died, David went to Bobby's wedding and said, "Here are the master tapes to all the death songs. People in years to come, people are going to come and ask about this stuff, and they're going to want to hear this music. So here it is." And that was like in 2000, 2001. And then, yes, in 2008, Death kind of blew up because nobody had really heard of them. And so they attribute, like, this is like a prophecy of David right before he died. Like, people are going to be asking about Death, the band Death. And so it just adds more to the lore of it. I believe that, because on the converse, like, how many times has that happened where someone's like, "Hey," because I think in that same thing, he had said that I'm not going to live very much longer. Here are the master tapes. People are going to want this pretty soon. But on the converse, like, how many times has it probably happened where it's like, people are going to want this and nobody ever wants it?
Nobody ever wants it.
It's like, just because it came true, right, doesn't mean that, like, it's always true. If anyone's ever said that ever, it just happened to be this one time out of a million that happened to be true. But yeah, dude, that documentary really made me hate fucking vinyl collectors so much.
I know.
Just because it was very much like, oh, I was at this party, I was at this club where, like, they spin, like, obscure vinyl, and he played the song, and I kept asking what it was, and he's like, "Oh, it's this band you never heard of. The band you never heard of." I was like, "Motherfucker!
Just tell
This is
me.
not what music is supposed to be, man. Like this music is for everybody. It's supposed to just be like enjoyed for everybody." And even though we had a whole conversation about it's not for everybody, it's supposed to be enjoyed by everybody. And just why do you gotta be so geeky little bitch about it? Just fucking tell me who the fuck it is. And like by you withholding that information, anyways, like you're kind of like almost taking away fame, fortune, money from the family, from the people that like should be getting the money from it, not you and your little stupid fucking dumb San Francisco club at 2:00 in the morning where fucking 20 people are there anyway, asshole.
If that.
Fuck off.
And also, it's like
Prick.
I feel like, if somebody were to ask us about a band, say we're listening to something at your record store, for example, and somebody's like, "Oh, who is this? Is really good." I would get excited, like, "Oh, fuck it, let's talk about Wednesday 13. Let's talk about whoever it is." It's like let's get into it. I want you to hear everything now. Like I want to talk about this for an hour.
Here's
it's just
where
like
I found it. Here you can find
it.
Here's his website. Here's his Spotify. Like, dude, come on.
Fuck yeah. But yeah, these vinyl collectors, as all these records collect behind me, they're all fucking gatekeepy assholes. Fuck them.
They are, and we talked about this off the pod, but there's some big douchers that come into my store. It's not like Step Brothers. Here I was thinking my stepbrother is a big doucher. Anyway, wrap it up. Kid.
Wrap it up. Okay, so let's give our final thoughts on this death record for the whole world to see. We'll rate it based off of our world famous 3-point rating system, where 3 is a perfect album, 2 is a good album you're going to continue to listen to, 1 is a bad album, but give it a shot, and 0 is the worst thing you've ever heard. So what do you got, Jeff? Go.
I think like people love a tragic story. We just do. That's why we watch fucking Titanic. That's why it's one of the most profitable movies of all time. We love Romeo a tragic story.
Yeah.
We love it. We love a good tragedy.
William Shakespeare.
The best tragedy of all time. We love a good tragedy. And death is a good tragedy, right? This dude David believed in this band to the death, right? To death. Like till he died. He believed in this band more than anything. And when this band finally got recognition, money, fame, fortune, whatever it is, he's gone. Like that is tragic through and through. That's just like fucking some like Roman tragedy thing or something. I don't know. It's cool. Yeah. I like it. It's a fun story. It's fun to talk about, but it is very, very sad. But I do believe this record came out even like 79, right before the 80s. I think the Ramones drop in 77 and give it a couple years for people to kind of like fully embrace like the punk, like, oh, this is cool. And all of a sudden this shit comes out like, what the fuck? What is this? Maybe even like 78, but like the Ramones have to drop first, right? Because they're just generic fucking rock and roll music for people that grew up listening to Bill Haley in the 50s. And now they think they can get a little more cutesy, a little more aggressive with their rock and roll music. You're wrong, because it's stupid and boring. I think this should have just come out 78, man. Even like just right after the Ramones. 78. This would have been exponentially more successful. This band could have been huge. Instead of the big 3 of punk, we could be talking about the big 4 of punk. Yeah. This wouldn't be an obscure thing that costs $25 on fucking Amazon, right? Because the original press doesn't exist, because there is none. So the original press is one that came out, and it's literally $25 on Amazon. And it's like that is not how this legacy should end, with a $25 record on Amazon. That's fucking dumb and silly. When like OG presses of the Sex Pistols are going for stupid money, for the Ramones, stupid money, and this band is barely scraping by. And I don't know, it's gross. It's gross, and I don't like it. And you can't help but think, you can't help but wonder that the big 3 in punk, like what do they all have in common versus this band? Like that weighs on you. That's a blight that you can't ignore. Yeah. So whatever. This band is better than this band's better than all 3. I like them. Yeah. I like this band for sure better than Ramones and the Sex Pistols. Like hands, that's a given.
The Clash, you can make an argument.
You can make an argument for the Clash. Clash were doing things that were pretty cool. But this is punk through and through. This is punk through and through. That Black Flag was punk through and through. But this is well before Black Flag, in an area that was not conducive to this punk environment. I don't know. Like, even with all this aside, all the romanticizing aside, it's still a good record. Like, this is objectively a good fucking rock and roll punk record. It's still fast. It's heavy. It's exactly what we want from something that sounds like this. It's good. It's solid.
Mm-hmm.
So even like without gushing over the fact that they were the first ones to do it, whatever, this is still a 3. And just adding all the lore into it, it's even bigger of a 3. It's a bold, underlined, and italicized 3.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Final thoughts for me. This, to me, like I said earlier, this is the first punk band. I don't care. MC5, Stooges, doesn't matter. This is the OG punk band. This is what every punk band afterwards sounded like. Outside of the couple songs, obviously, but the big ones, Rock and Roll Victim, Freaking Out, things like that. Those are straight up punk songs, hardcore punk songs too. You know, hardcore punk didn't really start till late. I mean, you got Black Flag with 80, was it 79, 78 maybe, with Keith Morris and Ron Reyes and shit like that, and Dez. But I mean, this predates it by 3-4 years. And I mean, they just really were doing some shit. And correct me, anybody listening out there, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, if there's another band in fucking Iowa or fucking Oklahoma that were doing this kind of shit, then feel free to prove me right, or prove me wrong, I should say. But yeah, no, Death were the start of it all. They were the best of the big 4. I agree with you. Clash, they're great, but I mean, they were just kind of, at some point they were just making solid pop music, but they weren't the best punk band. They were just like the best band overall out of the big 3 of Sex Pistols, Clash, and Ramones. Ramones and Sex Pistols just suck. They just do. Whatever. I don't give a fuck.
That's true.
Death were great, truly underrated, and I wish more people were talked about this record. I wish they had actually properly recorded more music than just these 7 songs. And also, these 7 songs clock in at 26 minutes, so this is still technically a fucking album. Longer than the fucking Circle Jerks record or a lot of fucking early punk records, so fuck them all. Anyway, this Death record's great. It's fantastic. So I'll give this a perfect 3 out of 3. I don't do it often, but a perfect 3 out of 3 for this Death record. It's just fucking fantastic. Everybody should go listen, check it out. You'll have a blast listening to it, and the lore is great. So that's all I got. You got anything else?
That's all.
All right. So thank you all for listening. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. And
fuck LA.
Fuck LA. All right. So that's
Detroit.
it.
Wait.
Does Detroit have a thing?
Detroit.
Are you going to do like some gang sign you probably shouldn't be doing? But
well, how does a D go? A D's like, does it go forward or backwards? Wait, Detroit. Oh, it's like this. No, that's Detroit. That's Detroit. It's just a D. I don't know. I don't know what Detroit does.
Who cares?
LA does that, and that's stupid. Actually, I do like that a lot. That's cool.
But Detroit's stupid.
Detroit is stupid.
Everywhere is stupid except Yorba Linda. Yorba Linda is the only cool city. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Yorba Linda is something.
It is something. Birthplace of Richard Nixon, baby. So yeah, that's it. That's all.
Richard Nixon.